Yeah.
Vanglorious Vanguard.
Knowledge born.
Yeah.
United front. What you want.
To the Knowledge Radio.
We in here. What you got? Dot.
Work hard as a slave to one day be your savior. The wave unwavering. This is a labor of love. Rise with a purpose every day. Invigorated. If we were on TV, we'd be 10 times syndicated. If we waited for validation, a paycheck or accolades, we'd be starved, already lost or ran away. But when you're square solid and your circle too, you don't need a place for silence. The concept is conquered through media, not areas of people activity. A mix that don't lose ethnicity, tightness that don't lose elasticity. Explicitly, this isn't where we give the novice regard. Nah, this is where knowledge is born. Last time that I checked, I'm undefeated. Deliver edicts, can't resist when the gods build and manifest freedom. When lines get crossed, they may push a loss, cause they get handed a check. We kick the can and cancel your cancerous gestures. A prophet vision, precision, the prescription for the sickness is to inoculate your fate with the winning. Arrogant beginnings turn to humble endings. And US with KBA is a win-win. 1K.
Yo, that intro is crazy. I can't hear you.
So, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, peace and black power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio. Place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alive. We got a legend in the building. We got I started this series in mind with Black Dot in mind. You know, kind of like I started this show with Black Dot in mind. You understand what I'm saying? So the ability to be able to provide content in a way that is palatable and that can be a point of reference to the people, and also to celebrate and highlight the contributions of everyday people that come in on a daily basis. You know, so this Black Content Creator series is very critical in regards to taking a moment of reflection and celebration for those masterminds. Like we have a mastermind in the building today who create content on a daily basis. We kind of take it for granted, a daily or a consistent basis. So we got a man who didn't leave the urban environment. He elevated the urban environment in the place where it belongs. So now we don't just call it a place of subterfuge. We call it a place of excellence. You know, they have a term called reclaiming the hood and all of that fancy stuff. But we had one who seen the excellence in the urban environment and gave forth not only for himself, but his family dynasty. You know, a remarkable opportunity to see the brilliance and the elegance and the grace in the space with the rose that grew from the concrete. So we got one who's been around the world to do it and has brought it back to us. One of our greatest Black content creators who is a point of reference for all that came before him and all that is coming after him. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, the Black Dot is in the building.
Peace. Yo, what a great intro. Wow, you impressed me with my own shit, you know? But I got to start with your intro. Who is that? Because that intro is fire.
That's my brother, Doc Maki of United Front.
Oh, that is
formerly known as Ambassador O. Yeah,
that is fire. Oh, I love it. Yeah, it got me lined up. I'm like, yo, stop. So shout out to that guard for dropping that, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I got another one. I'm just waiting for everything to kind of put it together to
once you get one, you milk it. Because people begin to just get used to it. Like, I couldn't change my intro now if I wanted to, because people are locked in, you know?
Didn't they try that shit with Power and people went crazy?
We're not going to do it. We like, no, this is the intro. If you tired of it, just wait for it to go by. But we are not changing the intro, and we have over 6 million views on our show so far. So for a young artist who created that, Black Cool, that's the most views they've ever gotten on anything. But that's how we build, and that's how we reestablish each other. So I wouldn't. Your intro is super fire. Unless they're gonna come with one more fire than that, man, that's hot.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that intro for Urban X, I mean, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Like, that's Blue Magic. That's the brand name right there.
That's the brand name right there. Exactly. That's the Blue Magic. I love that.
I love it. Yeah. So this series, as I stated, is dedicated to Black content creators. Oftentimes, like I said, we don't see it like we would see our other counterparts. We don't find value in it, or we might find value, but we don't find it valuable, because of the influx of so many things that are out here. How can you be able to decipher that which is truly of value and worth to you versus something that's there? So I definitely wanted to start there and kind of ask you that question, since we got the Hulk in the building. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
I get my Hulk shit on right now and say, how have you and your family, the dynasty, found the right marketing mix in between viewership and quality content?
That's a great question. Well, when we first started, we were going in blind like most people were, in hopes that we could just kind of figure some things out. So the one person I did call was Doggy Diamonds. Shout out Doggy Diamonds. He's the pioneer of podcasting and interviews. So I wanted to holler at him first, and he gave me some great insight, because remember, I started with Eli, the young guard, first. And through Eli, we went through a series of camera angles. We went through a series of backdrops. We went through a series of microphones. And those are all the technical things that most new content creators are going to have to go through until you find out what works for you. By the time we got to Urban X, we had a general understanding of what we wanted to do. But if you watch them early shows, you'll see the sound drop out. You'll see the backdrop is crazy. We had a TV back here. It was usually lopsided. So I say all of that to let everybody know it's not going to be perfect when you get it started, but get it started. But what we did have in place was the concept of family, father and son, my perspective from an elder position, his perspective from a young guard position. And we wanted to convey those messages and opinions to the people in a way that was tangible, palatable, and within our lane. Because one thing I never want to do, Lord, is come out of my lane to become something other than self. So with that being in mind, from there, once we got the formula down, we just continued to make sure that the content was, palatable and worth the people's time. And then we just kept building and building and building. And now we 160 something shows in of quality content. And yeah, we've made some lighting adjustments. We got multiple camera angles. We do because we have enough space and have made the investment to do so. Because it's not just me and my son. My queen this is her lane. So we have a team in place, a small team, albeit a team that helps to bring the best content. Because camera angles, when you start having more than one person, is important. Of course, the quality of sound and the content itself.
That's amazing. And, I was there since the beginning, shouting out, showing love, and really, seeing you, kind of fall in love with everything that was going on. Love has always been a foundation. Like, you started as Coach D and you back as Coach D, just Absolutely. In another coach capacity. You see what I'm saying? Things coming back, full circle. And having that ability to go around the world and bring the message and be a point of reference for others, and then bringing it back to the family, and now showing your family to the world. How did you kind of navigate around the headspace? Because we know historically what happens for those who stand up, their families become targets and things like that. How did you get around that particular headspace to be able to craft, a family show with the dynasty?
That's a real great question. I just kind of prepared them for it's a new realm when you start dealing with social media, because a lot of people are dealing with anonymity. You know what I mean? Where, in the lecture circuit, if you got something to say to me, you in my face. So we can kind of deal with it directly. And there's always a street element that never leaves you, Lord. But usually during that point, it was just me. The anonymity aspect affords trolls and people who don't really hate you, but they just trying to agitate you. It gives them a lane to say all kind of things they want to say and do all of this. So I kind of prepared my children in particular to have tough skin. And because Malcolm used to respond to everybody who says something that he didn't like, and I said, that's not the way it works. You can't, because then your energy is going up and down. I said, allow these people to voice their opinion. Everyone is not going to appreciate what we do and like what we do. So I don't kick anybody out of my chat rooms unless you way out of pocket. If you just say, I disagree with you and this and that, that's fine, because we need the discourse. So, but if you way out of pocket, I will have my moderators kind of like say, okay, this person has to go. Like we got one dude on our show who is in every chat. His name is Reek Judah, and he is a disagreeable spirit. I love him, but he always has something to say, and people get agitated with him. But I said, no, leave him alone, because he represents discourse. He represents that small percentage of people who just don't see it the way you do. And we always want to give them a voice. So we appreciate the sort of balance in there. My wife, I keep off camera because she chooses to be off camera for most instances. And you don't want to put your queen out in front. You have to keep something. As transparent as we are, you have to keep something to yourself. So we keep wifey, and we created, of course, the alter ego for her, which is Alejandro. You know what I mean? So we created an alter ego where they can voice their opinion to Alejandro, but we all know who Alejandro really is. And so that's how I try to keep the balance. And Malcolm is a young man. You better get tough skin if you don't like what you hear. And with Eli's show, you would really be playing yourself if you started going in on the disabled. You know what I mean? Even though you have people who do, his support has been overwhelming.
So how has it been for you watching now young men coming up, your daughter, everybody coming into their own, and then now seeing the next move into the next generation, grandpops, you know what I'm saying? Like how has that journey been for you, and how has it been for the family?
It's been amazing for me, because what we did was, when we started the Urban X podcast, I let people into a part of my world I normally don't. I'm very private as a Virgo. You never see me caping to get on nobody's show or none of that, So this was an opportunity to let people in and see a father and son dynamic. But what happens, because we the gods, we add on. So the father and son dynamic led to my own son having his baby, Noble. And now it moves me into a true position of eldership, because now I'm not just trying to teach him, I'm teaching him so he can teach his son. And then, when I get with my grandbaby, it's all joy. So for people who have been watching from the beginning, to see that growth in real time, you watching the show grow, you watching Malcolm grow. Maybe he put out a book last year around this time. You seen the company grow. He got his own vehicle this year for the first time. Of course, he had his son this year. So you're watching Malcolm grow in real time. So Noble was like the icing on the cake for an opportunity to show that growth. And if you treated our show like a sitcom, there's a new character now, and his name is Noble. You know what I'm saying? So while he doesn't have screen presence, most of the people who rock with us, they felt a part of his growth. So when I gave an online baby shower, you know what I'm saying, I had to do that because we spend so much time anticipating the arrival of Noble that most of our fan base felt like, nah. So people were sending gifts and money from all over the country because they feel like a part of Noble's arrival. And that felt really, really special to me.
I think that's very beautiful to really see the community because, you know, you travel and you see the community in real life. So these are stories, you know, it might be like, yeah, that might be embellishing a little bit, blah, blah, blah. This, like, no, you seeing this real in real time. So, you know, with his book and with everything that happened with the shower and all of those things, you get a chance to see like, oh, this is real community. This is beyond lip service. You see what I'm saying? And based off that relationship and that ability to be, you know, open and vulnerable, you know, with the family, and they see it and it's relatable and it's a relatable experience. So I think that was very, very powerful. Now I got to talk about Black content because you gave us Black content in a myriad of forms. You see what I'm saying? As an artist, as an MC, as an author, as a lecturer, as so many facets in regards to this. How did you see yourself through each, you know, variation of the content that you provided over the years? Kind of give us a little snapshot of where you saw yourself at different points.
That's a great question, King. And remember, I'm an artist first. So me even coming into this information, listening to Public Enemy and so many of those groups, it helped me form a level of Black consciousness. So when I look back at my photos from the 80s, you'll see me with the red, black, and green medallion. So even back then, we were reading certain books. The process began of self-awareness. I was already God body. You know what I'm saying? My name was Divine Intelligent, Great God Allah. I had already been studying 120 degrees. So as I got into the conscious community, my whole mission there, without me knowing it at the time, God, I was sent there so that I could scribe those higher frequencies of information into hip hop. So I became the so-called Tahuti of that movement. So my first positioning was as an observer. You know what I'm saying? Doing the knowledge. You know how that go. And so I would pay my money. I would sit in the audience and I would gather, you know, the lessons. And as I became more familiar with the community, I positioned myself by creating what I call these conscious music mixes, where I became like the DJ Clue of the conscious community because I would add instrumental beats. I put a piece of Bobby Hemmett or Phil Valentine or Henry DiBonato on these beats. And because I knew that my community couldn't accept 5 and 6 hour, you know, downloads at the time. But if I gave them 2 or 3 minutes of Bobby over a funky beat, they would appreciate it. So in doing so, I had to create a name because I'm still in the hip hop vibration. So even though I'm out of the hip hop community, side note, I had just came off tour, off my last tour with Tim Dog in about the end of 92, early 93, and started driving a bus to provide for the family. So around 95, when I hit the conscious community, I'm still on my hip hop ish. So now that I got these music mixes, I already know I have to create a new identity. I didn't want to come into the conscious community as KD or KD the Dark Man or one of them hip hop names. So I chose the name Black Dot after studying Dr. Richard King's work. So here it is, this guy who nobody knows is named the Black Dot in the conscious community, and he got these music mixes, and so they started flying all around the country. So my first way to communicate with the conscious community was through music and hip hop. As a result of me becoming more familiar with the community itself, I started going to the gathering of the masters and things of that nature. There was a 2 or 3 year lull when Khalid Muhammad passed away, and the conscious community, or that vibration of it, with Sister Bert, Big Man, Leon, and so it started to die down. A friend of mine named Christ, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Chris Wilmore. He came to me and said, listen, I want to do something with Phil Valentine, and I heard you to plug. So by me plugging him into Phil, I opened a production, and I can tell, shout out Brother Shabazz, because this was his company, and we formed Voltron, us three. I could tell when they set up, they didn't know what they were doing. So I immediately took the role of the orator, or the MC, or the host of that event. And that put me in a position now where I moved from the observer to the anonymous MC who put out these music mixes, to now you can put a face to the voice. And so from that point on, I became the one who was introducing all of the great elders. And of course, from there, after introducing all of the elders around the country for years, Brother Shabazz and Christ and myself and Red Pill and Blue Pill, we would be having these conversations about hip hop on how it fit into that current paradigm. And Brother Shabazz got me to sit down and do my very first lecture. And that's how I moved from the host to a lecturer, and the rest is history. And of course, I went all around the country with Professor Griff, because he was the one who really saw the potential in what I was doing. And he would fly me all around the country, and I was able to, get my name etched into the historical perspective of things. And now, as an elder, I sit at home in front of my computer. I don't have to travel as much due to technology. And now I'm in a position of eldership where I'm teaching my son and also spending time and sharing it with the community. I know I was long-winded on that, Lord, but I had to present it.
That was good. I want to get to the books, but before I get to the books, I want to go back to yesterday, because you and Griff, y'all did something on yesterday. What was that experience like for you, versus what your normal modus operandi, direct, in place, wherever it is on the planet, you know what I'm saying, versus what you have, what you did with Griff yesterday?
That was very different, Lord, and I'm glad you brought that up, because normally when I do a PowerPoint presentation, it's live. One thing about my presentations, I'm very animated, and I like to move around, and I like to project energy into the crowd, and I like to make eye contact, and I like to tell a joke here and there. And this was the first time I had to do basically like a 3-hour presentation sitting down, and I exerted more energy sitting down because I was in a moment of containment than I am when I do the actual lecture. So that was very strange. Now, conveying the information to the people, that was cool, because it was the first time me and Griff in years were able to combine our energies, our perspective on the culture, and this new modem in which it has to be done due to the times and things of that nature. But I'm not gonna lie, Lord, it was weird.
Definitely. And after seeing you live in so many places and having that experience, in a strange land, you see what I'm saying? And knowing the kind of energy that you bring, indiscriminate of how many people is in the crowd, whoever is there has a resounding effect. You see what I'm saying? So I definitely wanted to ask you about that, because I know, how you do. You see what I'm saying? And certain places get it way better than other places. You see what I'm saying? So
you're right about that. You're right about that.
So I wanted to get into the books. First, I got to ask you a Jay Electronica question. Is there another book coming from the Black Dot? You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know more than anybody, this book is 10 years in the making. And when you call me the Jay Electronica of book writers, I fell out, because that is the perfect definition of who I am. But I've been buckling down. That's all I'm going to say. I've been buckling down, and I have to deliver something this year. Of course, first of all, I'm going to put the original Hip Hop Decoded back in print, because so many people don't want the ebook, they want the tangible book. I have to do that first. I've already cleaned up Urban Culture Decoded because it had some grammatical errors that I wanted to make sure when the final authoring is available that stands the test of time, that is the best that I could be. So that's already in the can, waiting. And I am a good portion through Hip Hop Recoded and about 40% through my life story. So I have to present these because not that time is running out. I think we're taking time for granted. So I'm going to do my best to, even as Jay Electronica did, finally drop something.
I love it. I'm telling you, the anticipation, for those who have walked with you, through these various aspects. So now from the books, in between the books, there's an album, Walk With Me. You see what I'm saying? So what did it feel like to actually get back in the studio and give us back Hip Hop Recoded? You understand what I'm saying? Like, again, one more time with this masterful offering, Walk With Me.
The Walk With Me came about after having so much bent up energy as an artist with no real lanes to express it. So shout out Ghetto Shaman, my man KB. He was constantly on my case, sending me little nuggets. Here's a beat, here's a track. And we did the Hey Roo track. So it was all me, the twins, KB and my man Will, we was on it. And it kind of sparked the juices a little bit. And I just kind of felt like, because so many people in the audience would say, do you still MC? Do you still, and I didn't have nothing to reference them to, like, well, yeah, I still can do it. I may not do it in the capacity of a young artist who spend their life doing it, but it's like riding a bike, Lord. You never forget how to do it. And what a lot of people don't know, we did that Walk With Me album in 3 days. You know what I'm saying? I don't write on paper. We booked the studio on a Saturday. By Monday, 13 tracks, because we had already had 3 tracks, was done. And to watch me operate like that, for KB to see that, he was amazed. But once I'm locked in and tuned in, I'm ready to go. Now, I didn't freestyle the album. I don't write on paper, but my ability to keep things on cap, as we used to say back in the day with the lessons, Lord, when you had the knowledge 120, you had to keep that on cap. So my ability to write rhymes in thin air enabled me to kind of structure the album in my head. So when we got to the studio, it was execution time, and I don't like to waste money or time. So I don't sit around in the studio, what we gonna do on this track? I know precisely what's gonna go here, what's gonna go there, and how we gonna do that. And it was an amazing process. I needed that album to get some personal things off my chest. The struggles of, relationships with mother, my personal health relationships with my family. So I wanted to make sure I put that into the Akashic Records as, something that I was going through. Now, me and KB are reconnecting for Walk With Me 2. That's just going to be straight bars. I don't have nothing to prove to you. I don't have nothing to drop. We just going to go straight bars on that one. And so look out for that, because and I'm going to have my children who are older now, they're going to A&R the album. They're going to curate it and tell me what tracks I should use. But don't expect me to turn into Little Shitty Pants or Little whatever they going on today. I'm not going to do that. So look out for that. Yeah.
I love it. I'm telling you, I do. That lyrical fitness and the alchemy that you provide. I hope there's a section aside in one of these books where you actually go through the album. I would love one day to actually go through the album with you and kind of get the mind frame about it. Specifically that walk with you. You see what I'm saying? So, there's some gaps in our communication period. So when I heard the project, I was like, oh shit. Oh. You understand what I'm saying? Outside of the lyrical acumen, the content and the stories, each one is a story to itself. You see what I'm saying?
So it's already done. Me and you will do that project. You know what I mean? We will create something where we go through Walk With Me.
Okay, that's what's up. I definitely want to do that. Definitely. So I ask most of the writers that come on, and this is kind of like a cheat question for you because, Malcolm's writing. You see what I'm saying? How important is writing still? Is it still relevant? Are you still finding readers out there, in whatever form that they're taking it? Is it still of vital and critical importance? Is reading for the Black Dot still fundamental?
It is still fundamental. And as the elders taught me, the importance of actually reading functions with the left and right side of your brain. So you're getting the logical information from the words, but the right side of the creative aspect is your imagination. So a lot of times watching videos, they're already projecting for you what they want you to see and think, and that shuts down one side of your brain. But when we read, we're in that magic realm of this is whatever I want it to be. So I encourage reading, actually reading for people, because you have to still exercise that special ability. And now that we have the podcast, and every time I make reference to my book or Malcolm's book, people want to order it. So there is still an audience out there that reads. My only concern is with the new generation is that everything is a digital download for them. And they don't realize while they're receiving information, maybe at a faster pace, there's certain aspects of the information that they're not receiving because they're not allowing their brains to ponder the possibilities of how deep a statement really is. So it's important that parents still encourage young people to physically read so that they don't lose that, because this generation don't even know how to write. Like they don't know how to write script and cursive. We had to do all of that in school. They don't do it no more because the educational system has deemed it irrelevant. Like, why do you need it? So we don't want them to deem actually reading irrelevant. Even audio books, I understand with people who don't have time. Like if you're an avid reader, like me and you, I could do an audio book because we are avid readers per se, and we may not just have the physical time because we're driving into work. But for young people, don't bypass the process and just start listening to books. You need to read those books to make sure that you have the fundamental foundation of how we acquire information in this day and time.
I agree. It took me all the way back to the Matrix just now. There's a couple of things, along that way, but it took me back to the Matrix when, they're on that roof and Neo asked Trinity, can you fly this thing? She said, not yet, hold up.
Right.
Boom. You see what I'm saying? So
now
it was convenient it was convenient for the moment.
Yes.
But not for the mission overall. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that engagement, because a book, when you're reading, it engages your whole body.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Your whole entire body. You have to be still.
Yes.
Your mind is working, your eyes are working, your whole body is engaged in what you're receiving. And your mind is still working, like you said, engaging both sides. So you're seeing a pictorial image. You're hearing the author's voice in some cases, whether you know it or not. All of these things. So this is how hip-hop was able to be a through line because, we couldn't afford no cable, so we didn't see no videos. So listening to songs, we had our own version of what the video would be. And then oftentimes when we saw the video, no different than reading Jurassic Park and going to go see it, you're like, what the hell is this? This is not what I imagined. So the disappointment came from, your mind and what your mind created to be. You are walking in this jungle and you looking out for a T-Rex. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely correct.
That through line with the Matrix in regards to what it was showing, how fast these things were happening. This digital download, like it's readily available. It's boom, it's there, but it's not the other process. This is why Morpheus told Neo, "Show me." He was like, "I know kung fu." He's like,
He said, "Show and
yeah,
prove."
show me. Yeah, bring your
Show and
ass. Bring your ass. You know, not in a way to challenge him, but to challenge him at the same time. You see what I'm saying? Like we show and prove, and this is where we come from. So, are we analog and the digital?
Yes, that would probably be the best way. Go ahead, continue. You want to continue with that?
Because you taught us through, you know, the mystery of hip hop of what was being lost in translation with each adaptation of what the sound was supposed to sound like, if sound was a sound.
Right.
You know, from the record to the tape to the CD to hyperspace.
Right. Yes. So us being the last generation of analog, being able to feel, so for us, our records were alive. You know, even though they were on that melanated disc of 360 degrees, these records with that carbon, diamond pressed into that melanated process and spinning in vortex formation, our records were alive. And the way we brought them alive even more was through that 15, 20 band equalizer, which acclimated the music perfectly so that we could process and it can hit us the way we needed it to hit us during, and, you know, everything was analog for us. Digging in the crates for records, reading the back of album covers, all of that's gone. All of this process of how we got to know our artists and feel our artists is gone. And the cassette tape, it made things sort of convenient, you know what I mean? In the sense that now all of this is compacted on a cassette, which was still analog, because you could pop that tape, and we used to put the tape back together, and because if it was your dope mixtape. And then once we went to the CD, we lost the ability to equalize things manually, and then they gave us pop, rock, and hall as the presets, and those were not for melanated people. Those things were for Europeans who just hear music and they don't feel music, or the music doesn't permeate deep within, their third ears, us melanated beings. So we lost a lot. We got a lot with convenience, sure. So every time society or this matrix gives us something, it takes something away from us, or two or three things which gave us our superpowers. Now we're in a straight download era. So you don't even have CDs. Now it's just a musical download. So we have to find ways to reassess and readjust to try to get the most out of the sound. Now that's a figurative thing and a literal thing, since this generation is digital. They don't have the time to sit down and listen to 6 albums for 6 months. Like we would listen to Rakim for 6 months, sometimes a year, and then you would catch something new every time. They want that Drake album. After the Drake album, they listen for a week. They on to J. Cole, and then they on to Kendrick, and then they on to Little Baby. So everything from them is sort of in the quickening. So, that's their process. I still like to take my time when I can and absorb an album, and things of that nature. Maybe not 6 months the way I used to, but I still want to take my time. So people ask me, what you think about so-and-so's album? Well, I only listen 3 or 4 times. Hit me up after I listen about 10, 15 times, and I get to understand sort of where that artist was coming from before I voice my opinion. So yeah, we're the last analog generation.
So now that's a perfect segue. And before I ask the question, I want to absorb what you said. I want to absorb it because I was listening to Billy Dan's new project, and I went into a crazy place. You understand what I'm saying? I went into a crazy place. Every song, I think I listened to every song like 20 times. Every song, back to back, on a, and I'm like, Billy Dance, man, shit. You
Mm.
understand what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
so like that MOP feel, that 90s feel, that 1990
Ooh.
feel, that's there, you know, with all of the clean ability of nowadays. So that perfect marriage between then and now, the
Yes.
same grit sound, the same, like, you know, that, and then the ability to morph from one place to another. So I said that as an example because as a grandfather looking through the generations and a father figure to many of us through the generations, how do we best equip ourselves as analog communicators to the digital generation and perspective in regards to communicating so that ancient wisdom no longer gets lost in translation or one and done generation? How do we do that with our communication?
Wow, that's a great question, Lord, because in my book, Urban Culture Decoded, I tried to lay out certain perspectives on how we can uh, take our analog to its highest point and ask our digital generation not to bring their self to their lowest point, but a point where we can kind of meet so that the exchange of information, as you said, is not lost. We're in the information age, so people don't process or seem to care about or even digest information the way we did. When we sat down with a book or something, because of the analog principles, we digested it, we cross-referenced, we looked up, made sure this was correct. We did so much, even sitting in the lectures, because the lectures were 10 hours, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. It still gave us the analog process of not rushing the information. Now go out, hit the streets and go. We had time to process what the elders were teaching. But because we're in this quickening and this generation wants everything fast and instant, they don't even eat, they don't even chew their food properly, figuratively and literally speaking. So they read something, oh, let's move on. So they're missing that grandma's cooking where you sat down and you really enjoyed grandma's cooking in a certain way because it was more than about eating. It was so much love in those ingredients. So us analog heads, we still get the full ingredients. You know what I'm saying? And trying to pass that on to a younger generation, it's been difficult, but it's our job and our task so that they know they can be both. There's a time for you to be in the quickening, but there's a time to slow yourself and still yourself and really get the taste what those greens taste like. You know what I mean? Or so forth and so on. So, you know, that's the challenge, but that's what we're here for. And I consider myself an elder, but I'm in the middle. So I still can relate to my youth. And I'm also moving up in eldership based on my deeds and things of that nature and age. So I'm in a unique position where I still can walk between both worlds. And it's my job to do so. And everyone at the same cusp, it is our duty to do so so that the translation is never lost.
How can we be mindful of ineffective communication versus effective communication cross-generationally?
Well, first of all, we need to accept the young people. We need to give them a voice and a platform. See, eldership is not always about speaking and talking down to them the way it was. It's important for us elders to also recognize the way it is. So the was and is becomes the present day where we can merge that. And because whenever I see elders talking down to young people about how messed up their life is and how they screwed up hip hop and how it shuts the youth down, because the youth is saying that does me no good because I'm in the business of being. I'm in the moment. So my approach has always been to big them up. I'll even big up a couple of albums that'll make some veterans cringe. And it's not phony. It's that I'm putting myself in the mindset of a youth and why they would even resonate with certain frequencies. once you get into this, this eldership position, a lot of them, they're locked into their frequency, and that's it. That's not the way the world is going to work. It's going to be a give and take. So I put myself into the frequency of a little baby or the baby, or get into and stay in tune with what makes them click, so that I can show them that there is a correlation, that I can show them that we had our period where we was wilding too, and that what you're doing is just the current vibration of what you're going through. But let me teach you something so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls that we had to go through, so you can truly benefit on being the god or goddesses that you are.
I definitely think that adaptability is very necessary, and it's not a one-dimensional approach. I think the care comes in reaching them where they are and where they're going, not where we want them to go.
True story.
So looking at them in that relatable experience and taking the jewels from them that they present, what they do well, is very important. You see what I'm saying? They created their own language. I had to learn that from you. I had to do the knowledge to that shit. Like they have their own language. Das Effects had their own language. Boys of the Underground had their own language. You see what I'm saying? So we have examples of what it was. Everybody had their own language. The South had their own language. The West had their own language. The Midwest, the East, everybody had their own language, and their language was honored from a cultural perspective. So we had a cultural bias based on where we were in our frame of reference. So they have their language that they communicate in, and they study. It's a misconception that they don't study. Mm-hmm. They just want to party. Hip hop started off as party. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, rap started off as party. It was party rap. Like, so this is coming back around cyclic, because that's the season. It's a party season. It's a bunch of despair and all kind of stuff going on. And every generation can relate to a party song. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. So they got the party song, but they said when they want to learn something, I heard more than one of them say when they want to learn something, they're listening to this. They're listening to that. They're listening to this artist. Like, that's hip hop. Like, we're pop.
Yes.
Don't listen to us for hip hop. We're rock stars. We're pop. That's hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so I've seen that, and not so much of that gets translated well from one space to the next space. Because what was the Fushnikins talking about? You understand what I'm saying? Like, we had to know. You see what I'm saying? So, we heard, things like broken language. We heard many songs that were giving all kinds of reference to many different art forms. You see what I'm saying? Like, so if we wanted to go shut your party down, we throw some Onyx or some MOP on, your shit's over with.
It's a wrap.
You see what I'm saying? So if we wanted to get in that mood to be lyrical, we got some boot camp, we got some other stuff going on, the ciphers going on. Now everybody wants to mimic what they hear. You see what I'm saying? So there's certain sounds for certain aspects. And that's what it was. You see what I'm saying? I don't care how super lyrical everybody was. Humpty Dance comes on, your ass is dancing. Crisscross. I've been all around the world. 5 o'clock in the morning in the club, drunk out of my mind. Crisscross comes on. The whole club is jumping up and down, whether they heard that shit or not. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like it's different aspects. And I think that we lost it a little bit in regards to our communication with that kind of efficacy, and relatability, that our parents didn't like our music either. They called our music shit.
Right. They sure did. Yeah.
So until they started hearing the Isleys and Luther and all these other things being infused into the music, they could hear that. They could hear, Tina Marie and Rick James and all of that in the music.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you can put all of that together now, so you can hear what's your phone number, or you can hear Morse Day in the Time. The same thing. So it's like, all right, I can hear that now. It's still shit, but that one right there.
Yeah.
Because that genetic memory that's awakened by music.
Yes.
So that kind of same space of hip hop hip hop still being middle age. Not even the elder itself in its inception. You see, in its age, it's still, it went through the was years trying to figure it out, the rough years, the the wild years. I want to be promiscuous. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you go back to Common. I used to love her. His reflection in regards to what it is. You see what I'm saying? And you gave us, chicken soup. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that could be a sister, that could be your art form, that could be hip hop. It's multidimensional. So I think multidimensional approach is who we are and where we are at our greatest height with that adaptability. So
true story. I agree. Like, for instance, what Ice Cube did today was a good day, and your elders heard that Isley Brothers in there. And the way he was bringing it across, it made sense to them. You know what I mean? True story.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what's next for the Black Dot as we wrap? I know you got some, some things to do, or some things that you can share with us, as far as the platform, things like that.
Yeah, my son Malcolm is actually on a retreat right now with some of his boys. And they're on a business retreat because they all got small businesses. So they decided to get away from the wifeys and the kids and have an iron shopping's iron weekend where they're not on the phones, they're not on social media. They're looking at each other's business ideas through each other's eyes to lift each other up. So I think that's very inspirational, that other young people who have business dreams need to do that. Me, I'm just here relaxing. We're getting ready for our big February sale where we do 28 for 28. Everything in the store is $28 for 28 days to honor the Black history. So we actually preparing for that. And of course, me and Eli, we waiting for football tomorrow to see who going to the Super Bowl. So that's what's initially popping for us.
Oh snap! Can I get a Black Dot prediction? I never got this shit live. Can I get a Black Dot prediction? Semi, because I know you normally go through some shit where you come out with what's happening for it. Can we get a forecast, perhaps?
Of the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I'm gonna say Kansas City gets it done, and I'm gonna say Aaron Rodgers gets it done. I think those two will meet in the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna make a prediction on that one yet. I gotta see how they arrive at the Super Bowl. Now, Tom Brady could be the first quarterback to host the Super Bowl in his home field because remember, the Super Bowl is being held at Tampa Bay this year. So he is very close of pulling off something impossible or the first time done. So I can't discount him because he could be the only one who could take Aaron Rodgers down. But I think Green Bay and Kansas City, and both of those guys are in a State Farm commercial together, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. So I think State Farm would benefit off that. So we could see that action.
So we're looking at old style versus new style quarterback. Again,
yes.
We haven't seen that in a while. That adaptable ability of Patrick Mahomes on the run and the QBs of the old, like the Brett Favre's, the Dan Marinos, the Elways, the Montana, that kind of way. And Brady's in that. If
so
Brady's not in that pocket pass type situation,
he in trouble. It's almost like analog versus digital, as we were speaking about. You know what I mean? Yep.
Yeah. And I think the Chiefs have something that nobody has right now. They got last year.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's still fresh.
And hungry. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it should be interesting. Well, definitely. As we close, final remarks, shout outs, acknowledgments, where people can find you, where they can get that Urban X gear. This is when I do my New Year's shopping in February, everything 28 for 28. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll be loading up. You know what I'm saying? Some giveaways and shit gonna be coming. You know what I'm saying? So y'all about to get blessed based off of this, February 7th. So just please let everybody know where they can find you, how they get.
Yeah, we're out on YouTube on Urban X TV. You'll see us there. On Instagram, Urban X _ I believe it is. The shop, or where you purchase, is shopurbanx.com. Shopurbanx.com. Of course, the black dot. I'm the black dot 1 on Instagram. So that's how you get in touch with us. Of course, I'd like to thank Knowledge Born for having me here and us having this moment to exchange information. And hopefully this information can help somebody, because that's what our content collectively is really all about.
All right, fam. Can I get the phrase that pays?
Say it again.
I said, can I get that famous black dot phrase that pays before we go?
This is the black dot. These are my chronicles. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. That in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? So no more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get
And
back
that
to the
motive
gritty
is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.